London, heart of British democracy, just witnessed a jaw-dropping event. Thousands of furious patriots swarmed Parliament Square, catching the UK government off guard. With tensions high over controversial decisions, this massive protest shook London streets. Protesters waved flags, voices echoing demands for change. What began as frustration quickly captured the nation's attention. Police braced for the worst as the unpredictable crowd grew. This wasn't just another protest. It felt like a pivotal moment for the people and government alike. Could this spark bigger unrest? Or will the government finally listen to its people? The world watches as London's drama unfolds. Welcome to Anywhere Diary. In this video, we'll explore the shocking events at Parliament Square, why thousands of patriots took to the streets, and what this means for the future of the UK. Stay with us as we explore the causes, reactions, and aftermath of a protest that has everyone talking. It was a scene straight out of a political thriller. Thousands of UK patriots stormed Parliament Square, their voices booming as they demanded change. What began as a planned demonstration quickly escalated into something much more dramatic, as waves of people flooded the streets, their sheer numbers catching authorities off guard. Flags waved high, chants echoed through the air, and the message was clear: the people were done waiting. By midday, the square was packed. Protesters from all walks of life, united by frustration and anger, gathered to make their voices heard. Parliament Square had become the epicenter of defiance, with citizens standing shoulder to shoulder in a show of force that sent a ripple through the entire country. The energy was palpable. This wasn't just about airing grievances, it was about reclaiming power, about sending a message that couldn't be ignored. Despite the massive police presence, the crowd grew larger and more determined. Tensions simmered as demonstrators pushed closer to the barriers separating them from the iconic British government buildings. Every chant, every raised fist felt like a challenge to those in power. The sense of urgency was undeniable, and the atmosphere was electric, as though everyone there knew they were part of something bigger. The moment was explosive, not just in size but in significance. This protest wasn't an isolated event. It was the culmination of weeks, if not months, of growing unrest. As the patriots flooded the square, one question lingered: would the UK government finally listen, or were the seeds of even bigger chaos just being planted? The massive protest at London's Parliament Square culminated long-simmering frustrations among UK citizens. Patriots, feeling increasingly ignored, gathered to voice their anger over government decisions they see as harmful to the country's core values. Immigration policies are a significant factor behind the unrest. Many protesters believe the government's approach is weak and ineffective, allowing unchecked numbers to enter the country while ignoring citizens' fears. This has sparked anger across various parts of the UK, with concerns that the nation's identity is being compromised. Economic struggles have fueled dissatisfaction. The cost of living crisis, soaring energy prices, stagnant wages, and high inflation have hit average households hard. Many view the government as out of touch, failing to protect its people from economic hardship while the wealthy remain insulated. Political scandals and controversies have eroded public trust. Corruption allegations and questionable financial deals have led many to believe politicians are more concerned with maintaining power than addressing real problems. This disillusionment was a significant driver of the anger seen at the protest. Post-Brexit tensions surrounding national identity and sovereignty have reached new heights. Many patriots feel the promises of a stronger, more independent Britain haven't materialized. Instead, they perceive the country as weaker on the world stage, with ongoing debates over trade deals and border control complicating matters. Social media has amplified these frustrations, allowing people to connect, share grievances, and organize. Platforms like X, Facebook, and Telegram have transformed localized issues into national movements. However, they've also spread misinformation, blurring the lines between fact and fiction, and fueling urgency among those distrusting the government. Figures like Nigel Farage and Tommy Robinson have capitalized on this unrest, rallying support for their nationalist agendas. Positioning themselves as the people's voices, they've successfully channeled widespread discontent into focused action. The protest was sparked by a perfect storm of factors: economic hardship, immigration tensions, political disillusionment, and a fight over national identity. The sheer scale of the demonstration signals that people's patience has worn thin. As Parliament Square filled with determined patriots, the mood was clear. Change is no longer being asked for, it is being demanded. The government now faces a critical decision: take meaningful action or risk further unrest by continuing down a path many believe is leading the country astray. Parliament Square witnessed an unprecedented scene as tens of thousands of protesters flooded the heart of London. What began as a loud demonstration quickly swelled to staggering numbers, dominating headlines nationwide. The square transformed into a sea of flags and banners, with protesters from diverse backgrounds united in their belief that their voices had been ignored for too long. Many had traveled hours to participate in what they saw as a critical moment for their movement. The atmosphere was electric, charged with years of pent-up frustration. Chants and slogans echoed off historic buildings, demanding government accountability and criticizing policies from immigration to economic mismanagement. Prominent banners read, "Take back our country," and "UK first," capturing the day's mood. As numbers grew, the square, typically a symbol of democratic discussion, felt more like a battleground for the nation's future. Police struggled to manage the massive turnout, with officers positioned at every corner and barriers set up to protect government buildings. Despite the tense atmosphere, protesters stood, refusing to back down. Conversations revealed deep-seated anger toward the government. "It feels like we're invisible to them unless we do something drastic," one man said. Another added, "We've written letters, voted, and nothing changes. Now we're here, and they have to listen." The protest organization was impressive, and it was coordinated through social media platforms. Telegram groups, Facebook pages, and Twitter accounts had been buzzing for weeks, resulting in a turnout far exceeding expectations. Despite diverse grievances, there was an undeniable unity among protesters. Whether focused on immigration, economic issues, or political scandals, the overarching feeling was betrayal. Many believed their leaders had abandoned core principles, and this protest was their way of taking a stand. As the day progressed, it became clear this was no ordinary demonstration. The size, energy, and passion of the crowd reflected a deeper, more profound movement. Parliament Square had become the stage for a national outcry, with people demanding to be heard and the government left with no choice but to pay attention. The unprecedented turnout sent a powerful message. The status quo was no longer acceptable, and change was urgently needed. The massive turnout at Parliament Square quickly overwhelmed planned security measures, pushing the protest into tense territory. Hundreds of police officers in riot gear struggled to maintain control as the crowd swelled beyond expectations. Confrontations began when protesters pushed against barricades surrounding government buildings. Officers formed tight lines, initially holding ground without force. However, the situation escalated when demonstrators attempted to breach a police line near Westminster. Clashes erupted as officers used batons to repel the crowd, resulting in arrests that further angered protesters. As tensions rose, police called for reinforcements. Riot vans and helicopters arrived, signaling authorities' readiness to prevent a full-scale riot. Despite some protesters urging peace, aggressive elements kept tensions high. Flares filled part of the square with smoke, and skirmishes between protesters and police became more frequent. Gavin Stevens, chairman of the National Police Chiefs Council, publicly pleaded for calm, warning that violence would not be tolerated. However, continued arrests fueled anger among demonstrators, some viewing the police as an extension of the government they were protesting against. Clashes led to injuries on both sides, with ambulances arriving to treat wounds ranging from minor cuts to fractures. As night fell, the atmosphere remained tense. Exhausted officers held their positions while protesters continued to push against barriers, showing no signs of backing down. Despite preventing widespread chaos, the day's events highlighted the growing tension between the public and government and the delicate balance police must strike between maintaining order and respecting the right to protest. Both sides were left wary of what might come next. The massive protest in Parliament Square sent shockwaves through London, affecting every corner of the city. Businesses in central London were forced to close early, with many shuttering their doors as crowds swarmed the street. Commuters found themselves stuck as major roads were blocked and public transportation was severely disrupted, leaving countless people stranded. What was typically the hub of political activity became a scene of chaos, impacting daily life for residents and visitors alike. Shop owners in the surrounding areas expressed frustration, not only from the loss of business, but also from the uncertainty of such a massive demonstration. "It's impossible to stay open with this happening outside," one shopkeeper remarked. Tourists who came to visit landmarks like Big Ben and Westminster Abbey instead found themselves navigating through crowds of protesters, unsure what might happen next. The ripple effects didn't stop with businesses and commuters. Traffic came to a standstill throughout much of central London. Authorities had to reroute buses, close roads, and set up security perimeters around sensitive areas. The usually busy streets of Westminster were clogged with people, and for hours the city was gridlocked. Even neighborhoods far from Parliament Square felt the impact, with emergency services struggling to manage calls amid the disruptions. Once news of the protest broke, media outlets nationwide scrambled to cover the unfolding events. Live reports flooded television screens, showing aerial views of the packed square and on-the-ground coverage of the standoff between protesters and police. Headlines immediately drew attention to the unprecedented turnout, capturing the sheer scale and intensity of the demonstration. Media narratives varied widely. Some focused on the grievances voiced by the protesters, highlighting issues like immigration and economic mismanagement, while others emphasized the confrontational elements, portraying the event as a dangerous escalation of extremism. Journalists on the ground captured the tension, showing clashes between the crowd and police, while commentators debated the deeper issues behind the unrest. Social media played an equally pivotal role. Videos, photos, and hashtags related to the protest spread like wildfire. Public opinion quickly divided, with some users expressing solidarity with the protesters and others condemning the violence. Influencers and political commentators weighed in, further fueling the debate. The event's visibility across platforms ensured the entire country and much of the world was closely watching. Talk shows and news segments dedicated significant time to analyzing the protest, with political analysts speculating about what this means for the future of the UK. While some sympathized with the protesters' demands, others feared that this event could embolden more extreme. Government leaders wasted no time addressing the situation, condemning the violent clashes and urging calm. Prime Minister Keir Starmer issued a statement reaffirming the right to peaceful protest, while clarifying that violence would not be tolerated. He stressed that law and order must be maintained and that those responsible for disorder would face the consequences. His message was firm, aiming to reassure the public that the government had the situation under control. Home Secretary Suella Braverman followed with a more hard-line stance, promising an increased police presence in the coming days. She announced that reinforcements would be deployed throughout London to prevent further unrest and ensure public safety. Braverman clarified that future protests would be met with swift and decisive action, signaling that the government would not allow the situation to spiral. Behind closed doors, officials discussed long-term measures, debating the possibility of stricter protest regulations. Some MPs called for increased police powers to manage large-scale demonstrations better, while others urged the government to address the underlying issues driving the unrest. The debate in Parliament revealed a divide, with some leaders focusing on security, while others emphasized the need to listen to the people's frustrations. Right after the big protest, the government acted fast to get things under control. Police officers arrested many people who were at the protest. They didn't stop there. They kept looking for more people who caused trouble or hurt others during the protest. The big police bosses told everyone that they would punish troublemakers quickly. They weren't kidding. the court started working really fast to deal with the people who got arrested. Many people were told they did bad things like starting fights or causing a mess in public. Even though the police arrested many people, the big problems that made people angry in the first place didn't go away. The protesters left Parliament Square, but they were still upset. All around the country, small groups of people kept meeting to talk about their anger. On the internet, people were arguing a lot. They talked about who should be allowed to live in the UK, why many people don't have enough money, and what it means to be British. Some smart people who watch these things closely said this big protest might be just the start. They think more protests could happen if the government doesn't fix the things people are angry about. The government now has a big job to do. They managed to keep things from getting too crazy during the protest, but there are still big problems that need fixing. The people in charge have to make a tough choice. They can keep being strict and arresting people, or they can start trying to fix the real reasons why so many people are upset. Everyone in the country is watching to see what will happen next. Both the people who are protesting and the government leaders know this isn't the end of the story. The big argument about what the UK should be like in the future is just starting. There's a chance that more protest and trouble could happen if things don't change. Some people are worried that if the government doesn't listen to what the protesters want, things could get worse. They think more people might join in and protest if nobody is listening to them. On the other hand, some believe the government needs to be tough to keep everyone safe. How the government handles this situation in the next few weeks and months is really important. If they make good choices, they might be able to make people less angry and solve some big problems. But if they make bad choices, more people might get upset and join the protesters. With protests erupting and frustration mounting, the government's promise to restore order feels like a band-aid on a deeper wound. Immigration, economic struggles, and distrust in leadership have brought the nation to a boiling point. Will the UK government step up and listen, or will this unrest grow louder? The world watches, waiting to see if the UK can navigate this crisis without losing its way. Whatever happens next could reshape the country and set the tone for democracies worldwide. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. See you in the next video.